Guys, so for this exercise, you need to have open Photoshop to a new file. So you can go File, New, and you can adjust the size here accordingly to how big you want your canvas size to be. At the moment, I've got mine on A2 size, so that's what I'm going to be working with today. Just press OK, and you get a new file. Now, the next thing you need to do is you need to find the image that you want to work with and drop it in. So in my case, my file is on the desktop, and I select the file that I want to work with and I drop it in like that. You press Enter on the keyboard or Return on your keyboard. So that sets the image in here. At the moment, as you can see in this little corner where my mouse is pointing, the image is locked. So what you need to do is you need to go up to Layer, and you need to go down to Rasterize, and you need to go Smart Object. Okay. Now you can see here the little icon in the corner there is gone. So that means now we're able to work with it. All right. So the different functions I'm going to show you today is just how to resize it and how to crop something. Okay. At the moment, I would definitely like to have my image to be smaller because I'm going to put other images on this page as well. So first of all, you need to select to be on that layer. So now that's the blue layer. If I select the background, that's the blue. So at the moment, this is selected. I can now work with this layer. You go to Edit, Transform, and then as you're transforming, there's a couple of different options you can do for transformation. I'm going to go to Scale. Okay, that's actually changing the size of your image. Now, when you're here towards the corner, you can see how your little mouse changes into a different shape. I want to really use the corner, and in order for me to change the size, I just drag the corner. But now you can see the ratio of the image can be quite different as you're dragging it along. I want to keep mine proportionate. So what you do is you just press Shift on your keyboard, and as you're dragging, when you press Shift, it stays in ratio. So for example, if I let go of Shift, that's what's going to happen. It's going to change, and if I press Shift again, it's going to stay in ratio. And I'm going to just make it a little smaller because I want to leave enough space for the other images to go on to go onto this page. So once I'm happy with what I've got, I can just let go, and I can press Return on the keyboard, and that sets the image. Okay, so that's first thing. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you're on this first tool where my mouse is here, the Mover tool. This allows you to move this image around the page. Now, with this Mover tool, just make sure that you're not actually dragging the little dot in the center, because that can actually change the settings of it. Now, I'm going to start dropping another image in, so I'll do the same thing. So once I go select my image, and I just drop it in. Oh, it's not working. Select my image, drop it in. Oh, I know why. Because this is still being edited. That's why I need to apply transformation. Sorry. Drag the second image in. Okay, I have another image. Now you can see this image. I press Return again. This image is currently on top of my other image, and this is reflected here. So this one is literally placed on top of my other one. In fact, I'm just gonna rename these. What you can do is you can double click on it, and I'm gonna call this one Bricks, and press Enter. Now, as before, as we were saying, if this has this little logo on it on the corner, you can't actually edit it. So what you need to do is you need to go to Layer, Rasterize, and Smart Object. Okay, and that gets rid of this little icon down the bottom, so you can actually edit it. Now, see what happens if I click on this layer and I drag it underneath that layer. Do you see what happens? You're actually literally putting this underneath that layer. So right now, I just want to put it back on top. If you want to overlap images, then that's something that you want to consider in the future, is to actually move the layers around. But right now, because I'm putting all my images side by side, it doesn't really matter so much. So what I'm going to do the same thing again. As you can see, this image is quite big. I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Scale. Okay. And again, I'm going to press Shift down so that my image can actually be the same size as the other one. Now, I just want to make sure, apply, I just want to make sure that this actually lines up with this. Okay, and they're not quite the same size, so I'm just going to continue doing that and press Enter again. That sets it in place. Okay, now what you can say is, okay, maybe I want to crop part of the image out. So say, for example, I want to go back to the first image and I actually want to edit that and cut some of the parts out. So what I can do is I can actually, first of all, I need to be on the mover tool. I need to be selecting on the layer that I actually want to work with. So I'm going to double click on this one. I'm going to rename it Ruins. I'm going to work on the Ruins layer. So I'm going to make sure this layer is highlighted, so it's in blue now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tool here, which is the rectangular marquee tool. There's a couple of options here. So for now, what you want to learn is you want to be on this first one, new selection. So what happens is it selects a new section every time. I'm going to select the section that I do not want. For example, this is the section that I don't want. I've selected it. And on my keyboard, I can press delete and that disappears. This, however, will stay there. So you can go select, Command D to deselect the parts that you selected before. Okay, or on your keyboard, you can press Command D. So I might do that again on the other side just to balance it out. I might just do it on this side. As you can see, it doesn't really matter even if I go over. Since I'm working on this layer, it doesn't affect my other layer, which I'm working on. Okay, and again, I can press Command D, or I can go Select and Deselect, and that gets rid of that. So I'm gonna do that, so I can go back to the Mover tool, so I can actually move this around. I'm gonna click on this brick layer, so I can also move this across a little bit to line them up, and so on and so forth. So you can continue doing the same thing by just dragging and dropping images in, and press return. Okay, you can go to transform, scale, and I'm gonna make this a little smaller to keep it on the page like this. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure all my images are quite centered. I'm going to press return. Okay. What I'm trying to do is I'm going to go back to this layer brick. I'm going to move it across a little bit. I'm going to make sure the spacing in between all my images is the same. So I can even use the keyboard as I've selected it. I can press left and right, up and down on the keyboard just to make tiny little changes to make sure. I just want to make sure the gaps in between all the images are even, and I want to keep them close to the middle as possible. As you can see how I left a wider border on each of the sides, as you can see, and I've tried to bunch them up closer so it looks like that these images are sitting well together. Okay, so that's what you want to do. And again, as you can see, this new image that I've just put in, I haven't actually dealt with it yet. So what I need to go up here, go layer, rasterize, and smart object, and that gets rid of it. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you can continue filling up the page until this is full. In order to make this composition a little bit more interesting, you must think about which image you want the audience to actually focus on first. And those ones, you actually want to make them bigger. And the rest of them, you can make them a little smaller. So I'm going to try to see if this one fits into here, this bit. I'm going to try to keep this one on the page like that. I'm going to move it here, up, press enter, return, Again, I'm just gonna image, layer, rasterize, smart object. Then I can crop it, I think, here to keep my image a little nicer, like that. But for example, if you say, hey, I did that wrong and I don't really want to do that, you can actually go to history up here. Wait, sorry. If you don't have history, you're going to make sure that you have window and you go to history, okay? And that opens. Now this actually, what it does is it actually shows you every single step that you've taken during the process of editing this document. So you can actually go back one or go back a lot, so you can actually see, retrace your steps.